Okay, but thank you, Brother Wright. Assalamu alaikum to all our listening audience. Um, this talk was supposed to be part of the last talk, but we could not get through it. So it's continuing on the idea of health and fitness. And today we are dealing with specifically with physical fitness. And we have entitled the talk Physical Fitness and Writing an Exercise Prescription. Now, physical inactivity, as I have highlighted in the first slide and here, yeah, the physical inactivity is a major health problem in the United States and also throughout the world. And it is a predictor of poor health outcomes. This has been proven again and again that physical inactivity is a predictor of poor outcomes. We know for a fact that mortality, many causes of mortality, including cancer, cardiovascular disease. Whenever you hear about physical fitness, you hear about cardiovascular health and cardiovascular disease. So physical activity is our major protection against heart disease, peripheral vascular disease, and other forms of cardiovascular diseases. Now, the second point I'm making here, I think you have the slides, brother. Yes. In this slide, we have the fact that I want to emphasize that physical activity is better than any drug for your health. I mean, when we are ill, we rush in to take a medication to help us, maybe an antibiotic, for example, if you have a sinus infection or a lung infection, you try to go for a drug that will help you. Physical activity, I want to emphasize tonight, is better than any drug. It's not only preventive, but as I have stated just before this, it's curative, preventive, and there's no drug that we have in our armamentarium to replace physical activity. Let's move on to the next slide. We have listed here the components of physical fitness. There are several parts of being physically fit. The cardiorespiratory fitness, which involves the heart and the lungs. Then there's muscular strength, muscular health, not necessarily having large muscles, but muscles that are efficient. The body composition, which again does not have to be necessarily bulked up, but should be moving in terms of its levers. Flexibility. We all know what flexibility means. You're not stiff, you are very fluid in your movement, and you're in control of your muscular activity. We'll talk a little later about neuromotor fitness with balance, agility, and coordination. As I told Brother Riyad some time ago, later on this year, time permitting, we will do something on falls. And there we will talk a little more about balance and agility and coordination. Many older people, they go on for a long time being physically fit and mobile. And then because of instability, they fall. And a fall can be the beginning of the end. They may commonly break a hip, um, break a leg, and then they have to go on to anesthesia to get it repaired, and one thing leads to the next. So, physical the balance is very important in all of this. The next slide, we have the exercise prescription. Now, when you go to the physician, these are the components of the physical prescription that you will be given or that you expect to have. The recommended frequency of exercise is 5 days a week. Now, if you can't do 5 days a week, you can do 3 days a week, but ideally, the frequency should be 5 days a week. The intensity should be moderate or vigorous, again, depending on your overall condition. Now, how long should you exercise? Ideally, it should be 30 to 60 minutes. Of course, 60 minutes is better, but if you can't do 60 minutes, you can do 30 minutes, which comes to 150 minutes per week. That's the ideal recommendation. This is regular exercise. When I say regular exercise, I mean nothing that is unduly harsh on the body. You will hear these terms being used, METs, which stands for metabolic equivalent of task. And the recommended number of METs per week is 500 to 1,000. Now, the pattern, one or multiple 10-minute sessions. You can do 10-minute sessions with some rest in between, depending on your endurance. Progress should be gradual. You don't just rush into exercise and hope that you're going to do well at it. Many times we see people make New Year resolutions. They start in the month of January. They join a gym and they start very aggressively. Those of you who do go to the gym will remember that people come. You see people in the early part of January every year. They're running away on the treadmill or on the bicycle. And then after a week or two, you don't see them again. Either they have started too vigorously rather than phasing in gradually, they have gone too vigorously, they have gotten injured, and then they cannot exercise anymore. They lay off for a while and then they never return. So, in getting started on your exercise program, it is always good to start very, very slowly and gradually, using 10-minute sessions, using even in elderly people, we advise even 5-minute sessions, because then you're not making it burdensome on yourself. So a gradual progress is better than vigorous start. So in terms of the overall exercise prescription, 5 days a week, moderate to vigorous intensity, 30 to 60 minutes per day. And then the pattern is one of 10-minute sessions, which you can increase incrementally, gradual progress. In the next slide, we have this is about monitoring. Now, how do we, what parameters do we use in terms of deciding the intensity of your exercise? You set yourself goals, and then you will hear these terms sometimes: the heart rate reserve method, and then there's a method of estimating your maximum heart rate. As you exercise, naturally your heart rate will increase. And we use this simple formula: 240 minus your age. For example, if you're 70, you get 170 beats per minute for a 70-year-old person. Now, the other term that we use is training heart rate, which is 60 to 90% of your maximum heart rate. So that is 60 to 90% of the 170 beats per minute. So you can have a watch or a stop clock, which can um, give you an idea how fast your heart is going. So while you're exercising, you're also conscious of the fact that your heart is racing up, but you don't want it to go beyond a certain point. There's a term also, heart rate index, which I've included here, is equal to the activity heart rate divided by the resting heart rate. So it gives you an index. At rest, that's before you start exercising, there's a certain heart rate which you know is slower than when you start exercising. Then it becomes faster. So if you divide the two, you get a heart rate index. Now, METs, the term METs again, metabolic equivalent, is a measurement of how much energy is burned during exercise. Can also be used to calculate the number of calories burned. So, for example, one MET is the rate of energy expenditure while at rest. While at rest, you're also burning energy. Walking at 3 miles an hour requires 3.5 energy expenditure. That's 3.5 METs. Walking up a flight of stairs, for example, is equivalent to 4 METs. That is give you an example of the level of intensity. Now, when you go to the doctor, and this, let's go to the next slide, the treadmill test. When you go to the physician, most people do not need an exercise stress test. It is only certain people, certain symptoms. If you're going to embark on a very vigorous type of exercise, that you may want to subject yourself to an exercise stress test. Now, there's a reason that the doctor may want it to do the test. For example, if you have symptoms of cardiovascular disease, for example, you're having new onset of chest pain, pain which you never had before, now you're having, the doctor may want to do a low level of stress test to see if he can reproduce those symptoms, which will then correlate with your exercise and the onset of the ominous symptom. You may have shortness of breath, for example. The activity that you were doing in the past without any difficulty, without any shortness of breath or any discomfort, now suddenly you're having shortness of breath. You're not able to complete the task. Maybe you were able to kneel down and do your gardening, and now suddenly you cannot do that task anymore. That should clue you into the fact that something has changed. And the doctor may want to then subject you to a stress test. Now, some people are thinking about doing some sort of program that will involve something totally different from what they have been doing in their day-to-day life. For example, you may swim in the pool 5 days a week, maybe 10 laps, 30 laps, and suddenly now you decided that you want to go and you're going to Africa and you're going to climb Kilimanjaro or something like that. People get all these crazy ideas sometimes, and then they That's when you want to consult your physician, get a stress test before you embark on these strenuous, unusual activity. Remember, when you get to Africa or you get to Kilimanjaro, there may not be a physician there to quantitate your stress level and deal with your emergency. So you want to know ahead of time that you're capable of doing what you set yourself out to do ahead of time. So exercise prescription is necessary before unusually intense physical activity. As I stated before, traveling to remote locations where there are poor healthcare systems, where you may not be able to get to uh, to a physician or to a hospital very quickly. Those are the times when you want to get yourself checked out ahead of time. Let's say you're going on a Amazon trip. You're going to the Amazon where maybe an Amazon cruise or something like that. That's another example that anytime you're traveling outside of the continental United States, it's time to reevaluate your situation, to be erring on the side of safety. You might have heard of so many of our friends and families that we hear about that, oh, this brother went to Guyana and he suddenly had a heart attack. Well, as it turns out, when you go into the history and you talk to the family many times, they will tell you that this person had some activity, some symptoms, which he did not interpret correctly. Maybe he was having indigestion for a long time, which he interpreted as heartburn, or he likes a lot of pepper sauce and he chalks it up to eating a lot of pepper. And as a matter of fact, he was having angina presenting as indigestion, or he may have back pain, or he may have shoulder pain, or jaw pain, or shortness of breath with minimal exertion. All of these things can clue you in. So you want to get checked out before you go to those locations where you will not have help readily and may not be able to get to a to help. Um, we have in our uh, community many people that I know that this has happened to. Um, I will not mention names, but there are people who have gone to remote locations of the world, and many times I get calls from those locations that, doctor, we have this person here. He says he knows you, and we want to do cardiac cath on him. He's just had a heart attack, and he would not allow us to do this without talking to his doctor. And then I have to get on the phone and discuss the situation with the physician. Now, those examples are lucky examples where you've been able to get to a physician. It's not all parts of the world where you find doctors who can do cardiac catheterization. Cath labs are not available uh, in every little city and town as we have in the United States. So many times you are the fortunate one if you can get to a hospital that has a cath lab that can do cardiac cath and determine the extent and the severity of your cardiac problem. Now, why is this important? This is important because when you get a heart attack, you want to have someone who can intervene in a timely manner. Uh, we describe it as a timely intervention to preserve muscle. The heart is a muscle. And when you get a heart attack, muscle is damaged. The heart muscle or part of it is damaged. Um, if a small part is damaged, then the rest of the heart has to take over the function. Now, the sooner you get help, the sooner you get an evaluation, the more muscle can be preserved. And how's that? The reason for the heart attacks, very simply, is blockage or occlusion in one of the major vessels of the heart. So the sooner that you can reestablish the circulation, either by drugs or by intervention, whether it be angioplasty um, or stenting uh, or balloon angioplasty, whatever the method the doctor chooses to reestablish the circulation, the sooner the better, the more muscle is preserved, and the healthier the heart that remains. So you want this to happen in a timely manner. Now, you may do a test at home before embarking on your trip, and you may suddenly be told that you have critical disease, and then the doctor will have to take care of that before you travel so that you are in a safe environment, safe situation, stable, and you know your limitations before you uh, go into any stressful situation. Now, many people in their own minds will think, oh, I can walk 1 mile, I can walk 2 miles. But when last did you walk 1 mile or 2 miles? The mind tells you that you can do it, but the body doesn't necessarily cooperate. So you have to um, be cognizant of this while you're thinking of trips. Um, you just don't pick up and go on trips, and then you find that you're in trouble, and then you have to hurry back and cut your trip short because you run into problems. Many people, remember, don't make it back home in time. Um, so traveling to remote locations is a very important part of getting uh, a stress test of some kind or some kind of a cardiac evaluation that will tell your physician what you can do and what you cannot do. And then they will give you a prescription. They will say, this is what you can do, this is what you cannot do, this is how you will monitor your heart rate while you're away, while you're undertaking the activity. And now we have a wonderful um, implement called a smartwatch. Uh, a lot of people have smartwatches. They monitor their heart rate. They monitor their O2 saturation, oxygen saturation, and all kinds of activity. Tells you how many steps you've made in a day, and et cetera, et cetera. Um, we move on to the next slide. Uh, why exercise? Um, this is repetitious, but it summarizes some of what I've been saying. Improves cardiovascular function, means you have a heart which is working more optimally. Uh, the the heart, like all muscles, uh, you can train it. You can uh, make it function more efficiently, and therefore you have a handle on what you can do and what you cannot do. Improves metabolic health. Metabolic health in a way describes how you feel. People get up in the morning and say, "I feel good. I feel like I could run a marathon." Or sometimes you get up and you say, "I feel terrible." I I am down in spirits. I don't have any energy. I feel fatigue. I have not done anything to start the day, and still I'm tired. And that's a sort of uh, that's what we refer to as metabolic health. Means you are metabolically uh, in an optimum state. When you get up in the morning from a good night, 7, 8 hours sleep, you are feeling refreshed, both in body and in mind. So it tells you that you are functioning optimally or suboptimally. Number three, it improves cognitive function and executive function. Means your brain's ability to function, uh, you know, in all the various complex tasks that we have to do every day, balancing your checkbook, remembering uh, that you have an appointment with a doctor, remembering that you have to um, go to the supermarket, whatever your plans are. All of those things are exercise improves all of that. Finding your car in the parking lot, for example, has to do with your cognitive and executive functions. So you may park your car and you can't find your car. Exercise will help you with all of that. Muscular health, we've gone over. Your muscles are more fluid. They're moving your joints. Um, the movement of the joints help uh, to keep the fluids and the oils, uh, synovial fluid in the joints mobile, so you don't have debris forming in the joints to cause them to creak and be painful. So the muscles are involved in that, and exercise is an integral part of moving the muscles and moving the joints to keep them in an optimal state of health. Improving blood sugar regulation. Exercise helps in a major way to regulate your blood sugar. And people who are diabetic, they know that this is very important because you can follow your blood sugar before you exercise, after you exercise, and you can see the change. A simple way of understanding this is that exercise and the muscles are a major organ in pulling the glucose from the circulation into the muscles where they are needed to uh, supply energy. It improves your lipids, cholesterol, triglycerides, especially. People who exercise well and optimally have low triglycerides or normal triglycerides. Again, to understand this simply, the sugars, excessive sugars that you put into your body gets that you do not utilize gets packaged as triglycerides, which is a form of fat, form of lipid. The two great lipids are the triglycerides and the cholesterol. So excess sugars are packaged and stored in the body as triglycerides. Triglycerides, if you've had a chance to view this in a test tube, you can literally see the white, fluffy layer of triglyceride that sometimes blocks some of the arteries. So, exercise goes a far way to reduce your triglycerides. HDL cholesterol is the good cholesterol, the LDL is the bad cholesterol. So, we have very few ways of increasing good cholesterol. We can reduce bad cholesterol, but we have very few ways of increasing good cholesterol, which ideally is what you want. Exercise is one of those rare ways of increasing the good cholesterol in your body. Exercise lowers blood pressure. People who exercise regularly, their arteries and veins vasodilate regularly, and as the arteries and veins open up, the blood pressure goes down, and the body adjusts to this so that those who exercise regularly, instead of taking um, a high number of milligrams of blood pressure medication, they can take a half or lower dosage of those. Of course, this has to be done with the help of their physician and also with their home blood pressure monitoring. Good idea to have a home blood pressure. You can buy those in the pharmacy now, and you can check your blood pressure once a week or once a day, depending on how um, compliant you want to be. Exercise improves depression and anxiety. You'll find people who are depressed, they go out for a walk, they breathe the fresh air, they look at the flowers, they look at the butterflies, they go down to the beach, they see the ocean, they see the blue skies, uh, they see the beauty of Allah's creations, and they forget about their own uh, feeling terrible. They forget about their own anxieties. Uh, they forget about what's the news today, uh, which gives them more anxiety. And so instead of looking at a half an hour of news, uh, do a half an hour of exercise. Um, we sometimes prescribe for some people news holidays. Those who get anxious every day when they look at the news. The news is, by and large, bad news. So if you miss the news, and I've done this myself, if you miss the news for a week or two, you don't miss too much. When I go on vacation, I don't look at news. So I know this from my own experience. So exercise instead of uh, looking at bad news. Um, this has not been proven in any concrete manner, but there is something which says that exercise lends itself to reducing certain types of cancer. And of course, uh, the healthier that you keep yourself, the less the chance of having the formation of cancerous cells in your body. Uh, uh, Cancers form in the body when certain cells multiply out of proportion and they have lost their ability to sense that multiplication process. So, exercise, keeping your circulation going in a brisk way, takes care of those cells and the scavenging function of the uh, hematological system. It improves sexual function, obviously, because it helps to improve circulation, which all sexual function is dependent on good circulation. And last of all, here, it lowers the risk of all cause mortality. So people who exercise regularly can hope to live longer, live life with more vitality, more satisfaction, and add another layer, uh, something that they can look forward to on a regular basis to help them cope with the stress and strain of everyday living. Next slide, uh, exercise and weight loss. Um, I put this in because I want you to know that exercise does not necessarily lead to a lot of weight loss. It leads to some, But uh, if this was the case, all the people who are obese and exercise, they would have gotten down to normal size. So the expectation is that it may, if you keep it up, help you with a 5, 10, 15, 20 pounds maximum weight loss. So it doesn't mean that if you want to lose weight, you don't exercise. You should, but your expectations should be realistic. Next slide, I put this in there because you may hear this term FIT principle. This is what FIT stands for in the framework used to design aerobic programs: frequency, intensity, time, type, enjoyment, volume, progression. When you analyze exercise, you analyze it under these principles. How frequently are you doing the exercise? With what intensity? How much time you're allocating to the exercise? What type of exercise you're doing? How much psychic enjoyment you're getting from the exercise? The exercise should be enjoyable. It should not be um, um, it should not be something which is burdensome or something that you don't enjoy, that you don't look forward to. If you don't look forward to exercise, you will not keep it up. You will start it and very soon you will stop because you do not enjoy the idea that you are doing this becomes a burden. You do not realize the benefits that will accrue. Uh, And once you get to the enjoyment of the exercise, and herein lies the varying your exercise. I don't know if I have another slide about that, but varying your exercise is important. Instead of banging away at the treadmill day in and day out, if you can use a bicycle one day, maybe swimming another day, maybe walking outdoor some other time, you can vary your exercise and get the same or more psychic enjoyment out of it. Volume, the older people, they can vary their volume. They can do what they feel comfortable with. Um, you don't want to do any exercise that will aggravate your already existing problems. You have a bad knee, don't go out there when you reach 65 and start jogging. You have not jogged all your life, and then suddenly now you're retired and you have the time, so you start jogging. Next thing you know, the knee goes down. You can't run anymore. You can't jog. You can't walk. And there goes the exercise through the door. So use good judgment. Progression, as I said before, starting slow and going slowly, increasing your exercise program very, very gradually. Nothing wrong with doing 5 minutes a day when you start. Nothing wrong with doing 5 minutes a day indefinitely. Uh, you may want to set your goal as 5 minutes a day. That's fine. You're 80 years old. You're 90 years old. You're entitled to doing what you enjoy and what you are comfortable with. Uh, what you're comfortable with may not be what is ideal, but any exercise is better than nothing. So your progression and your goals have to be have to go hand in hand. Next slide, exercise and the elderly. This is a particularly favorite topic of mine because most people, as they get older, they get more sedentary. Exactly what you don't want to happen. Um, the the 80-20 split is what we recommend. 80% aerobic activity. Aerobic activity means you're using your heart and your lungs, and 20% resistance exercise. Resistant exercise is like using a band, stretching, um, light dumbbells, things like that. Uh, Resistance exercise could be your own body, just doing like push-ups or pull-ups or whatever. Uh, those are the types of exercises that you can do without going outdoor, without going to the gym, and without having weights uh, or pulleys of other types. Moderate exercise includes brisk walking, cycling, dancing, Zumba class. These are all very popular moderate exercises. Now, this is after you have done uh, uh, you have embarked on your activity, which you gradually work up to um, a moderate exercise. Then these are ideal for such people. Be aware that there are three phases of aerobic exercise. First, there's warm up, there's the actual training, the exercise, and then there's the cool down. Um, you would have seen people at the gym, they go on the step on the treadmill and they're going at it like crazy. You don't want to do that. You want to warm up, you get on the treadmill if you're using it, or the bicycle, and you pedal very slowly. So you warm up. That means you are trying to get the blood in your body, the circulation going. Your heart is now beating faster. It's beating stronger, and it's pumping the blood around the body. And you are feeling warm. You are starting to develop a slight sweat, and that's what we call the warm up. Usually, it's a 5 or 10 minute in most exercises. And then when you warm up, then you're getting into your main training program, your main exercise. Uh, if you're doing a half an hour, for example, you can use 10-minute warm up, and then um, you can use a 10-minute actual exercise and a 10-minute cool down or a 5-minute cool down. So you can work it out according to your likes and dislikes. But the warm up should be at least 5 to 10 minutes. Um, NIH, the National Institute of Health, recommend for seniors that they walk 5,500 steps per day, or an average of 2 miles. That's what's recommended. Uh, does it mean that everybody can do that? No, but that's what is recommended. The NIH also has beautiful uh, um, brochures and booklets and all kinds of um, recommendations that if you access their website, they will send them to you for free. Um, they are very, very good, well illustrated uh, information. Balance exercise, standing with the feet at shoulder width, eyes open, hold steady for 10 seconds, and working up to 20 seconds. You can do this. This is to start with. And then eventually, when you're stable, you can stand on one foot, always having a chair or some means of support nearby, especially in the beginning. This is wonderful for people who you see when they stand up, they're staggering around before they get their act together. Um, they have a wide base so that they can support themselves from falling sideways. These exercises are very important in fall prevention, which we will talk about in another discussion. Next slide, please. These are, in my estimation, the 5 best exercises. Swimming, ideally, if you have a pool or if you have access to a pool. uh, Tai Chi, which is wonderful in terms of getting your range of motion exercises and also cardiovascular. It's easy on the joints and the motions are smooth and rhythmic. Um, I remember many years ago going to China and to my surprise, going along in the bus and at every little green patch on the side of the highway, there were elderly Chinese. And when I say elderly, I mean 80, 90, 100-year-old people doing Tai Chi or doing ballroom dancing, music playing on a boombox. That's a still vivid in my mind. But that's the sort of programs that people need to embark on. It makes exercise enjoyable. Strength training, another form of uh, activity that you incorporate into your exercise program. Uh, this strength training, they recommend it 2 to 3 times per week. You don't have to do it every day, not necessarily, but you want to get your muscles stronger. For example, many elderly persons, I'm in that category now, where when you try to open uh, your medication bottle or faucet or something, you have problems because your fingers can't grip the object. So these are all part of strength training. You can use squeezing a small ball. You can, there's a little gadget they sell in the sporting goods store. It's like a little clamp that you can use, which will increase your arm muscles. You can use your body also for strength training. Dumbbells, walking, wonderful exercise. Everybody can walk. You can walk for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 minutes, whatever you can do should be done every day. That means you should set the time for that sort of activity. If the weather is good, you do it outdoor. If the weather is bad, you do it indoor, in your hallway, on your treadmill, or in your yard. If there are bad dogs around, make sure you're taking some implement to protect you against bad dogs. Um, so be aware of that. I've been attacked by dogs while walking. Uh, Kegel exercises, you can check that up on the internet. There are beautiful examples of that. This is very helpful in people who have urinary incontinence, which is very common in the elderly. Um, okay, I think that's the end of the slides. Um, I want to take this opportunity to thank Brother Riyad for illustrating these slides very nicely. He's done a very good job, and I wish I could get him to do illustrations of my other slides, but we'll get around to that some point in time. Um, I want to summarize in a nutshell the benefits of physical activity. As how much time do we have left now? Whether we have
A couple of minutes.
a couple of minutes, yeah. So a couple of things I want to emphasize. Um, even for short periods, even for short periods of time that you exercise, it's been shown that it's useful. It keeps your muscles intact, keep them strong and healthy. And you don't have to have big, bulky muscles. but when you use them daily, they will serve you better and they'll serve you for a longer time. Remember, you need the muscles to hold the joints in place so that you're able to walk and do so many other activities. We talked in this lecture already about pre-participation screening, any kind of activity that will be strenuous and over and above what you normally do. You need to talk to your doctor and seek some kind of a evaluation. We talked about the ideal number of minutes to exercise, 150 minutes per week. You can do less, you can do more, but you can start off slowly and build up gradually. Any exercise is better than none. Muscle strengthening is important 2 days a week. Balance training, we talked a little bit about on a weekly basis, at least once or twice a week. Exercising in the water for people who are overweight and have problems with their knees and their arms. You find exercising in the pool or in water improves your ability to exercise because it reduces the resistance. So you find the things that you cannot do normally, you're able to do it in the water because the resistance is much less. So pool exercises can be very rewarding. Physician, the doctor coming in and advising you to exercise does more than anything else in terms of helping to motivate people. Many doctors do not deal with exercise, do not handle any kind of advice about exercise. So even not only the sick people need to exercise, but even the healthy people need to exercise. So the advice from the physician goes a long way towards motivating people to exercise. And remember that we started off by saying that inactivity was one of the major epidemics in America. The other epidemic which is coming is Alzheimer's dementia, which is coming in thousands and millions that people are going to come down. So we don't know. I might not be around at that time, but I'm not sure how unless we find a cure for Alzheimer's disease and dementia, we're going to have a very, very hard time taking care of all these people who are coming down the road in the next several years. And as I've shown you in this little talk, exercise helps in the prevention of dementia also. Improves your cognitive awareness and your executive function. So you're able to function more. So this is a multifaceted uh, um, um, rewards program, exercise. Nothing that you can do for your health will reward you as much as exercising. So I ask you, brothers and sisters, to please do so. And we are going to be looking possibly at Nur Islam in the near future as the mosque comes online to be utilizing, or at least try to utilize the hall for group exercise programs if we can get the right brothers and sisters to undertake those programs. So with that tonight, I say Assalamu alaikum, and I hope that that I have motivated you enough to embark on some kind of exercise program in some sort of a way. Thank you and Assalamu alaikum. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer in the next few minutes or some other time if time permits. Thank you, Brother Riyad.
I have a, it's not a question, but I remember when I sat with you when you did that that meeting to the folks in Europe. You talked about, and I can't remember the parameters of an exercise where a person was sitting and then they stood up and then they walked a certain distance and came back to the chair. Um, what was that you
That has,
measuring or what was,
it's called gait speed. Gait speed.
okay.
Yeah, gait speed is an independent parameter that is used for it. It correlates with longevity. People who you get up and you walk a certain distance and come back, and they time you. And people who take a longer time to do that activity, you walk like 20 feet or so. We do it in the office all the time, and based on that, you can predict how long you're going to live very closely, that activity. So herein again, you're measuring, you're you're correlating your number of years you have left with how active you are. Um, so in 2 seconds you have left, I can't emphasize, I was never a great believer on this until many years ago. I was in Hawaii for the Hawaii Marathon, and I actually saw people 100 years old running the marathon. I couldn't believe it. But the human body is a wonderful, wonderful gift. And only by putting it to the test, you realize what you can actually do. So if you sit down and you mope about your aches and pains and all the other things, and you not push yourself a little bit, you're not going to accomplish, your maximum. So you have to push yourself a little bit. So people, no matter how, there's another index called the frailty index. Of course, everybody know what frailty means. I mean, you see people in and around the mosque that you knew 10 years ago, and now you see them how they're walking slowly and their knees are hurting them and think all of that you can see. No one is saying that you're not aging. I mean, you will age inevitably, but it's the quality that you can maintain by exercising. So, what you want to do is to be healthy until the day you die. Putting it in that way, then you can understand that you're healthy until the last day.